Today we're going to be doing intermediate. I'm going to show you traditional grip and I'm going to show you. This is Clayton Skinner. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Beat. Hello there. My name is Clayton Skinner. Welcome to Beyond the Beat. Today we're going to go over eighth note drum grooves. So the concept is simple. I'm going to show you how to play drum grooves using specifically eighth notes. Now these are the building blocks in the beginner steps to playing drum beats. And this will cover basically all genres including rock, funk, and maybe even sometimes metal and punk. To get started on this, first I'm going to need you to actually understand what an eighth note is. Now if you don't know what an eighth note is, I suggest you go back to the rhythmic theory section and understand what an eighth note is. So we're going to first start by counting eighth notes using our right hand, and we're going to count it on the hi-hat. Now every time you hit the hi-hat, you're going to count out an eighth note. So it'll sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now when you repeat this process, remember you start back on number 1. So it sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Here's a better demonstration. So hopefully you counted along to that while I played. Now what we're going to do is, now that we've got the counting down, every time you come across 2 and 4, we're going to add the snare drum. So if you look at B on the PDF, you'll see that I added a snare drum hit on 2 and on 4. So you're going to hit that snare with your left hand while your right hand maintains the eighth note hi-hat pattern. So it'll be like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so now on to exercise C. Now, if you look at exercise C, you'll notice that I put bass drum, that's the note at the bottom of the staff, on 1 and on 3. So there's no snare drum here, so you don't have to add your left hand or anything. So you're just going to play your bass drum with your right foot. With your right hand, you're going to be playing on the hi-hat. Now, the bass drum, remember, is on 1 and 3, so you have to start with the bass drum this time. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then repeat it. So let's see how you do. So here's where we put them all together. Exercise 1 is basically A, B, and C all put together into one beat. You have the bass drum on 1 and 3, the snare drum on 2 and 4. Now this will be your first rock beat that you learn, hopefully, if this is the first video of these series that you watched. So watch me do it, and then try it for yourself. And let's see how you do. So exercise 2 on the PDF, we're now going to add another bass drum hit. Now we're still going to have the bass drum on 1 and 3. The snare drum will again be on 2 and 4. They'll be on 2 and 4 for all these beats. The new bass drum hit will be on the end of 3. So it'll sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Don't forget that snare hit. Beat 3 will be similar to number 2, except for this time, rather than the bass drum being on the and of 3, it'll be on the and of 2. So it'll go 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Now, 2 and 3 are very similar, so I would actually suggest that you spend some time learning how to differentiate between the two of them, because they can actually get quite confusing once you've learned one and you try to do the other. Exercise 4 in the PDF is probably a beat you've heard 100 times in your life. The bass drum is on 1 and then 3 and. So, take a listen and see if you can recognize this one. Exercise 5 on the PDF, we have the bass drum on 1, the and of 2, 3, and the and of 4. So it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's kind of like if you were to take beat 3 and just keep repeating it. Exercise 6 on the PDF, we're now going to remove the bass drum from 3. You have a bass drum on 1, the and of 2, and the and of 3. Now this one can be tricky because there's no beat 3 and you're used to having beat 3. So try to use the snare drum hits, 2 and 4, to kind of let you know where you are in the groove. So here, take a listen to it and then give it a try. So groove number 7 is very similar to 6. The only thing I've added is a bass drum on the and of 1. So if you know 6, you'll know 7. So here, take a listen. Now we're on to exercise 8. So now we're going to put bass drums on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So give this one a shot. the bass drum will be played at the same time as the snare hit. So you got to pay close attention to make sure that the snare and the bass drum are hit at the exact same time. This will kind of give the backbeat, or 2 and 4, a good little push. Now, exercises 9 and 10 aren't technically beats. I mean, you could actually play them if you wanted to, but these are just examples to basically let you know that everything that we're doing here is an 8th note. So whenever you hit your hi-hat, no notes will be played that won't be played with the hi-hat. So these two are just examples, and you could kind of play around however you like. So give this a try. Now that you've heard and seen all these exercises being played, I want you to make sure that you spend a lot of time on these. Practice them as much as you can. Remember, it's not always about speed. It's about control. Your job as a drummer is to keep time. That's your main priority. It's not about being fancy yet. So, what you can do is you can actually either practice this to a metronome, if you're comfortable, or you can practice this to music. Now, all of these beats that you hear can actually be played with probably about 90% of all music you hear on the radio. They're all just standard 4/4 grooves. Now, they won't be the exact same beats that you hear in the songs, but some of them can actually fit into place and work with a lot of the songs that you like. So give it a try. The hardest thing that you'll probably have to deal with is maybe the song might be too fast. But, you know, that's why we practice. Well, that's it for 8th Note Drum Grooves. For Beyond the Beat, my name is Clayton Skinner. And make sure you check out ClaytonSkinner.com for more videos.